even if you're talented at it, right? Like, give you an example, myself, I was building businesses when I was 16 years old. I was thinking way far ahead than I should have. Instead of chasing girls, I was chasing a buck.
Right, right.
So, and no matter how much talent I had at that, I just actually stop and think of how much did I take away, potential did I take away, because I didn't have my ducks in line at home when it came to my own health, my own addiction problem. How much was that truly holding me back? So, is there a way to marry the two? I don't think you can be a successful addict in bodybuilding unless you've addressed taking on sobriety and set yourself up for a position where that can be when we talk about this order of operations, we talk about this hierarchy of things we need to take care of. That actually, if that's part of your life, that needs to be number one.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the Rise41 podcast. I am your host, Gonzalo Gonzo Herrero, and today I am joined by Mr. Dave Canney, who is a bodybuilder, coach, and has an amazing story, I think, of resilience and overcoming adversity. So, Dave, welcome.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that introduction. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. So, but this is all about you. This is about spotlighting and telling your story to people so they're inspired and people know that, no matter how tough it gets, we can make change and change and grow.
Yeah.
So, first, let me ask you, how did you find yourself ending up as a bodybuilding coach? How did you get started? What's your background?
Yeah. Well, I got into, well, I guess I might as well mention how I kind of got into the bodybuilding realm first.
Sure.
I remember when I was younger, I kind of grew up at a young age. I was on my own since I was about 16 years old. And I had good parents, had good, scenario growing up. My sister and I were very close, and we ended up just kind of living together at one point when I was about 16. We worked together, kind of did everything together. We're really close, and just ended up living with her. But obviously that's not your parent. That's somebody that I kind of looked up to as, a parent, but it was my big sister. And nonetheless, we just kind of started working at a young age. And then, and at that time, I was kind of involved with sports and football and wrestling growing up through high school. And just like all my younger years, sports was a big background for me. But I found myself really gravitating more towards the weight room aspect, the training. That was something kind of I really liked. I could control all on my own, didn't have to rely on a team.
Right.
I worked well on a team. I was the captain of most of my teams I was on throughout high school and football and whatnot. But I just really kind of enjoyed having the control of everything myself in the gym. So nonetheless, I kind of got into training when I was younger and really enjoyed that aspect. But as you can imagine, as a 16-year-old, with just your sister raising you and kind of no one to overlook you too much, I kind of got into, some bad times in my life as well, and started using drugs, using alcohol, and just kind of running amok when I was pretty young. But make a long story short, I just kind of started working really young. I started a little landscape business when I was younger. I was one of those kids just pushing around a lawnmower around the neighborhood, picking up some money or shoveling, driveways when there was snow. And so I was always able to put some money in my pocket and take care of myself. So I really didn't have many people to answer to but myself. But the drugs and alcohol kind of caught up to me at a point. I found myself at about, um, 19 years old, and I had my own home. I was doing really good, had a couple businesses, but I was just a full-blown kind of alcoholic. And nonetheless, I just kind of woke up one day and said, I really want to try something better for myself. And I, had always remembered seeing those pictures of Dorian Yates when I was young. And I saw
Yeah.
that first black and white photos of him hitting a front double bicep. And I said to myself, if I could just accomplish 5% of that, I'd be happy with, my physique, and it'd be really kind of gratifying. So I kind of struggled, to kind of summarize, from my 20s to my 30s, I really just kind of struggled with alcoholism. I would be clean for a couple of years. a year and a half or so, I'd clean myself up. I'd be 300 pounds. I'm only 5'9", 5'10" range.
Right.
And so I was a pretty big kid, and I would drop all that body fat, get myself in a position where I could actually start bodybuilding, start making the building of progress. Because, obviously you
Right.
got to drop all that body fat first to kind of get yourself in a prime spot to succeed. So I struggled with that a little bit. I would clean myself up, start getting to the point where I was like, okay, I can start doing some bodybuilding and start really trying to get into the competitive realm. And then I'd slip up with my drinking or alcohol or the drugs, or just kind of maybe falling, hanging around with the wrong people or whatnot. So kind of back and forth. I had 3 times I cleaned myself up and then would drink for a couple of years straight, kind of stay out of the gym, didn't have a structured diet plan, but I was always successful. I'd always kind of ran good businesses. I made plenty of money. I did really good for myself at a young age. And make a long story short, third time was a charm. I
Right.
cleaned myself up pretty well around, um, I think it was like 29. I think I was 29 or 30 years old. I finally kind of said to my employees, I had a talk with my employees, my business partners, my wife, and said, at this time I have to clean myself up, and I'm not going to try to do this on my own. I'm going to rely on you guys. I'm going to ask for some help and kind of be open and try
Yeah.
not to be the tough guy, and try to do it all on my own.
Plug into that support system, man.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, and
critical.
it's huge, and it's hard. It's hard to kind of reach for help because when I grew up the whole time relying on myself, I didn't really look to others to make things happen. I really kind of relied on myself.
Right.
So,
Oh man, so having success by yourself in a way kind of like primed you to like, I have all the solutions. So,
right,
why reach out?
right.
Yeah. And did you find that it was like definitely like a cycle of like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because I get it in my mind that, I'd do well for a couple of years, like a year and a half, 2 years of being clean. And I'd say to myself, I've done all right. I can have a beer, or it's a special occasion. I can, go out and have a little bit of fun and try to keep myself tamed to a point. And again, I never really had like a bad moment or like a bad mess up with the police or kind of,
right,
big trouble or anything that had any kind of scarring image to me. But I'd just fall back in that cycle. Like you said, I'd
right.
fall off the rails. I'd gain friggin' 80 pounds and blow right back up because of all the sugar and the alcohol and just
Sure.
all the poor habits that would come back. So I finally cleaned myself up. I finally just, put all the things in place. So, I got a breathalyzer for the house so I could be accountable with my wife. I started seeing counseling. I went to a detox program because I was drinking so much at the time, that I thought I would have some sort of seizures or some sort of
Or
medical.
DTs or something of that
Yeah.
nature. Yeah. No,
Yes.
that's smart. That's smart to like get the medical supervision when possible. So many people don't realize that,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know.
I had a friend that kicked alcohol and they actually passed away from it. So
Oh, wow.
had a really bad seizure, and I just said to myself, I got to make sure I do things right and set myself up. And being kind of open with my family and my business and my wife was a big part of it.
Yeah.
So that big chunk of time, I just kind of spent spinning my wheels, and I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to bodybuild. I knew I wanted to be successful in business. And I finally cleaned myself up in one year after another. I was doing really well. And, I was kind of always like a nerd when it came to the aspect of nutrition. I was always kind of fascinated with it. So luckily I would research for years and years and years about different kind of tactics with diet, different kinds of foods, and just kind of learning the whole body through the nutritional realm first. And that was huge for me. So I started getting a lot of good progress all of the time. I was
Right.
finally clean. And then people just started asking me like, hey, Dave, how did you change so quickly? How did this
Right.
happen? That was really before I was kind of experimenting with any PEDs or really kind of, diving deep into that realm. So it was
Mhm.
really kind of helping people with nutrition. And then one thing led to another is, I started coaching some of them for free, just
Mhm.
kind of like helping people building my craft. And I found out I loved coaching just as much and helping others as much as I did doing it for myself and being, an individual athlete. So my wife ended up getting the bug of wanting to train, so she's been training now for like 6+ years, if not just a little
Oh,
longer.
so
She's
she decided to train like after you all met. It wasn't like you met through like, at a contest or anything like that or at the
Yeah,
gym.
no,
Yeah.
she never picked up a weight in her life until
Wow.
10 years of us being together. We've been together for about 15 years now.
Yeah, and now for, I'm gonna say this for the audience. I've seen her. She is incredibly competitive
Oh
at
yeah,
this point.
yeah. She's
You both
professional.
are high level competitors. I should be very clear in stating that.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
she's very good bodybuilder herself. So she's what we call a two-show pro. So she won her first show, qualified nationally, went to she did another show that we planned on 3 weeks
mhm.
later. She won the overall at that one as well. And
Wow.
then she went to the universe and won the universe. So she turned pro in basically 2 shows.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so she did a great job with that, and she liked the aspect of helping people and kind of like tutoring and mentoring and sharing the knowledge that her and I kind of accumulated. So yeah, that's kind of the long story short of how I kind of got my toe into the realm of coaching, and I just really fell in love with it. I've really just enjoyed it, and seeing people progress and seeing them do better, and kind of being able to share with them that, like you started off when you
Mhm.
introduced me, that we can all get through tough times. It's just you can't be you can't be willing to pursue the top if you're not willing to start at the bottom.
Yeah,
And I
for
was really
sure.
good about
Have
that.
that humility too of
Yeah.
realizing that, right? Like we all start down here
Mhm.
before we can like go all the way up. So so let me ask you this and take your time if you want, but so bodybuilding demands obviously structure and control and care and precision. You have to do things. It's not like, in my case, I'm just a gym bro. I just want to look jacked. I want to be the most jacked of my friends. That's it.
Sure.
That's my contest. So it's a lot more forgiving, right? A lot less demanding of a specific time and place, because a bodybuilder has to peak on that day. It has
Yeah.
to be, everything has to be perfect. So but then addiction thrives in chaos. So so did you find yourself rebuilding discipline once you got sober, once you made that decision? Was that how that worked out?
Yeah. Well, what I think I did was I really kind of found the parallels of sobriety and bodybuilding and tried to kind of maybe not say swap them, because one's
Hmm.
obviously a negative kind of addiction where bodybuilding's kind of can be a positive addiction for,
For
well,
sure.
it's something you spend a lot of time in.
Hmm.
But bodybuilding something that you work building one perfect day at a time for a long-term goal. And that's
Right.
really the same thing with sobriety, is that you're trying to stay sober one day at a time for this lifetime of sobriety and this lifetime of staying clean and clear-minded. So
Yeah.
when I was able to kind of swap one for the other, that's kind of what really helped me, was the discipline needed to be successful in bodybuilding was just instantly translating to a good answer for me to stay sober. So the better a bodybuilder I was, the better I was at my sobriety in a sense.
Gotcha.
So really taking one day at a time, and really just kind of taking pride in one day scenario at a time, not looking too far in the future. Um,
Oh, okay. So recognizing the immediate wins, the short term wins, to get you to the long term wins. Gotcha.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yep.
All right.
Because it's true. It's like bodybuilding. You can, it's one meal at a time, it's one set at a time, it's one day at a time, and then those things build up. It's kind of like making a dollar, one penny at a time. So
Right.
you had to be okay with staying sober one day at a time, even though it's a struggle. Just like being a good bodybuilder takes one day at a time. So I kind of just made a good equal swap. So all those things I did with going to detox and just being open with my family and coworkers and wife really helped me kind of have the backbone. And then I was able to take the discipline of bodybuilding and apply it as well to being successful in my sobriety in a sense, you
That
know?
makes perfect sense. So let me ask you, did your experience with addiction and recovery, do you feel like it makes you more empathetic as a coach for your people, for your clients? Does it give you a because I feel like it's almost like we can turn our superpowers and use them for good, right? Our power of because as people in recovery, we have a tendency or a capacity to understand, right? To understand what being down and out is like. So when somebody comes, hey, I want to be a bodybuilder, or even you probably have lifestyle clients too that
Yeah.
just want to be in shape,
Yeah.
just want to be healthy, and they're at the physical bottom, right? In a way. So do you find that your experience allowed you to use that empathy or build that empathy?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think so, because it helped me relate to people in the sense of like, you know, put it this way, like I was at the bottom of my barrel at one point. You know, I was down and out. My physical state I was not happy with. My mental state I wasn't happy with. And usually when you're starting a fitness journey and I get a client that's not a bodybuilder, that's, you know, just wants to change their ways for their health, or change the ways they look because they're not satisfied with their body image, I can understand what it feels like to be at the bottom, just like we've all can kind of relate if you start a fitness journey. So I think relatability, yeah, for sure. I could understand how they felt. You know, I wasn't born with a six pack. I wasn't born with a ton of muscle. I really had to earn it all. So I could definitely relate to starting at the bottom and understanding how they feel. They feel it's like this insurmountable goal to accomplish the things that they have in their mind. But actually, you know, I always remember Branch Warren, of all people, had one good saying. He would say that if you want to climb a mountain, if you just look down at your feet and do one step at a time before you look up, you're halfway there. You know,
Gotcha.
so
I like that.
yeah, and it's just so true. I mean, you have to start somewhere. So
Hmm.
it's okay to start at the bottom, you know, and take pride in that little changes, you know, changing your habits, changing your routines. And when you start accumulating some sort of progress, you get very prideful in it. You take joy in it. That almost becomes addicting too. You're like, well, how far can I push this? How
Right.
good can I make my health metrics? You know, and how close can I get to my goal, if not supersede it? You know, a lot of people with me usually find themselves hitting their goal and then going, what's next? You know, how far can I
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
push this?
Right. Because then you conquer that mountain, right? And there's a bigger mountain that I can now go and check out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'd find
So
myself pretty much like also on the other end, when people would achieve these goals, I could take pride in them as their coach too, because
yeah,
I know what it takes. Like I've been there too. It's, you know, it wasn't an easy road for me, you know.
yeah. And
At,
helping guide them in that journey too.
yeah.
There's definitely that feeling of I helped another human,
Yeah.
which, I feel like that's something that's very lost in our society or in our culture. The idea of, and I preach that a lot, and I try to live it as best I can, of being a person of service.
Yeah.
Like whatever I do, ultimately, if I'm doing it right, it'll help somebody.
Yeah.
Sometimes that somebody's yourself because you have
Sure.
to be. So me as a dad and as a husband, I have to be healthy and in good shape and in a good mindset to be a good dad and a husband.
Yeah.
So, helping yourself and being healthy is not that selfish, really,
Yeah. Very true.
right?
Very true.
That's one way of thinking about it. So,
Yeah, and
so
leading by an example too. I mean, like your kids, you're setting an example, showing them that, you know, if you take care of yourself, that frees you up to be able to help others, and it's all gratifying at the end of the day. I mean, all we're doing is you know, what's the expression? High tides rise all boats. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah. The high tide floats our boats or raises our
yeah,
boats. You're right,
yeah,
absolutely. So, all right, let me ask you this. So we know, because I know during my journey of sobriety, because it was very similar to yours. I hit a moment of just like it was. I remember a friend of mine saying, "You got to get busy living or get busy dying, but brother, you got to pick one. Pick one. Just do it already." And I chose life. I was like, I was about to like lose my wife, lose my kids. I was like, sorry, that's unacceptable. you know.
yeah,
But when I went to the gym at first, at least for me, it was more of a coping mechanism, right? It was something to do.
yeah,
But then eventually, it became something healthier. It became an actual, a mechanism that was actually therapeutic at this
right,
point.
right.
Did you find a similar experience in your case?
Oh yeah, yeah. Personally, I need that time. You know, I
Hmm.
need that release from the day. I need that break. I need that me time, and I don't find it to be a selfish, you know, scenario. I mean, that's what's required for me to be who I am and to be happy myself. And in that way, again, like we talked, being available for others at the same
Yeah.
time. And it's just part of me also leading by example. When I walk into the gym and I don't miss a day, and all my clients are there and they see me and they see like we're making it happen. We're not all talk, we're walking the walk as well.
Yeah.
That's gratifying too. But if I didn't have that time, I mean, it's this time I can set aside that's just for me. It's a physical release. It gives me this mental clarity. I know I'm confident in the fact that I'm benefiting myself. I'm benefiting, you know, what this will do for my physical health, but also my I don't want to say image, but the business that goes along
Sure.
with walking that walk too. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, if
Yeah, I
I
mean, you have
didn't,
to
I'd be
show
a
the
pro.
product. It's the, I mean, not to be crude or crass, but I've heard some influencers say in a not very polite way, like, would you trust a fat coach? And it's like,
Sure.
well, I mean, they may be very knowledgeable, but it is harder
Sure.
than seeing somebody who's modeling the behavior.
Yeah.
That's a lot easier to believe.
Yeah. Yeah, and
It's
I think it makes you more relatable too. I mean,
yeah.
again, just showing them that I've been there too, and I can relate.
Hmm.
So not to say there's plenty of coaches out there that might not be a physical specimen,
Yeah,
compared to their athletes that they're coaching.
right.
But I think most people are bright enough to see through fakeness. They can see
Yeah.
if a coach is, being fake, even though they don't look the part, let's say.
Yeah. And the other thing is like, there's a difference between being actively a competitor in their prime
Yeah.
versus somebody who might have been a competitor and is now like, they drop down to like, say, they used to be like 250 stage weight and now they're a lean 200 healthy,
Yeah.
40, 50 years old. You don't want to carry all that muscle all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It's still healthy and fit.
Yeah.
It's just not, it's a different, there's that whole thing of like, there's a point I've felt I've discussed this with Paul and a few of your fellow of your peers. And there's a point where performance and longevity kind of split.
Sure.
And you almost have to pick a side. Like, if I go in the heavy into the performance side, there may be a cost
Yeah.
in health because it's performance. Same with athlete, any athlete, not just in bodybuilding.
Yeah.
That dude that can be a linebacker or a running back, by the time he's 40, 50, he's taking a lot of hits
Yeah.
to be that high performing. And
Yeah.
so these are the decisions we have to make,
Yeah. Well, look
definitely.
at a great example like Jay Cutler,
Yeah,
somebody
yeah,
who's been at the pinnacle of the
yeah,
sport and then really kind of realized when it was time to call it quits and focus on that fork of the longevity aspects. And
yeah,
that just shows
absolutely.
there's an example of people that live it and can walk the walk and show you how it's done as well. I look to people like Cutler as being a great example of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know?
Of being able to like, okay, I have done what I need to do. Now I need to shift the focus
Yeah.
into that longevity aspect.
Yeah.
Speaking of classic bodybuilders, I just heard Ronnie Coleman's like not doing well. I heard something about
Yeah,
that today.
I saw that on Instagram. I'm not sure the details, but I guess he got
Yeah.
hospitalized. Hopefully, he's doing all right. But
Yeah. Now
I didn't hear any details. Yeah,
that man is something like once in a lifetime,
yeah,
and a great individual too, a great
yeah,
inspiration in the sport,
yeah.
class act.
I remember meeting him at the Boston Pro
Oh
a
shoot, you actually
handful of
met him.
years. Yeah, well, they did the Boston Pro a few years back, probably a handful of years now, and they
Mm,
had a bunch of legends. They had, I mean, Cutler. They had all the guys that were competing were out there during after prejudging, talking to the fans. It was quite an ordeal. But I remember telling Ronnie, I was talking to him for a second, and my father had his back fused.
mhm.
My father's got 16 vertebrae fused in his back. It's one of the
Wow.
biggest you'll ever hear of fusions, and you could just see he could kind of relate to that and understand like, wow, what a ordeal. So I
Yeah.
could feel for Ronnie. I was like, man, I can only imagine how he feels, but he gets up, he goes out, meets
Hmm.
people, shakes hands, he's available. And
Yeah.
again, hopefully he's doing all right.
Yeah, and that's an example, but they were what we were talking about just now, like choosing like to be the top in a very difficult competitive sport.
Yeah.
It does have a cost, no
Yeah.
matter, even though he has like probably the best genetics
Sure.
ever,
Yeah.
as far as, or some of the best, arguably. So,
Yeah.
um, okay, so let me ask you another question since we're in the realm of bodybuilding and PEDs and so forth. So, how do you find as somebody in recovery the potential use and or misuse of PEDs because they are required to compete at the levels that you compete? I
Sure.
mean, it's a given.
Yeah.
When you get to a certain, super physiological level development, that's the price of admission.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that? Do you feel is it difficult to not overdo it? Is it, what's your approach? How do you feel about that?
Well, make the best simple way I can put it for me personally. I don't really associate the PED use with like recreational drugs on the same level. So
Right.
what I get out of it, or what I got out of, let's say, alcohol compared to, using performance enhancing drugs, are just differently in my mind. So like when I use alcohol, I'm getting this firing of this kind of release and this happiness and this joy, and I was
Yeah.
pretty much using it to just kind of cope with working 80, 90-hour weeks at the time,
Or that escape, right? It's
yeah,
euphoric. It's
yeah,
like
exactly.
stress is gone.
Yeah,
So
so almost in the sense it was almost a performance enhancing substance for me to kind of get some sort of release from work and still be productive.
yeah.
But in the aspect of bodybuilding, what we're using, whether it's, testosterone, growth hormone, insulin, whatever is the use at the time, it's triggering my brain in a different way. Like I'm not getting this great joy or rush of euphoria. So for me, it's easy to kind of separate the two. But
Okay.
I can understand the abusive side effect, where I can understand in your head where you have this abusive personality where I can't just have one beer. I couldn't have
Right.
one whiskey. It
Yeah.
was use until I was unable to touch, lift my hand to have another drink at
Oh,
the
I
time.
understand. Absolutely.
But that's not how we're using it. We kind of just know that that's not the effect of you're going for when you're using performance enhancing drugs. I'm not just injecting testosterone until I can't fit anymore in
Right.
my body or run out.
It's to have an effect. It's a tool to cause an effect that you need in
That's right.
order for to proceed or improve in your sport.
Right,
It's
right.
no more than that.
That's a good way
So
you put it, because it's kind of like Paul always says. Some of these PEDs, they're tools
yeah.
to achieve a certain. So you pull out the right tool at the right time. And for me, alcohol was the more the better, plain
Right.
and simple. Uh,
Regardless.
that's
Right.
what I was chasing. But when you're looking at the bodybuilding aspect, it's get the right amount to elicit the correct effect that you're
Right.
looking for, and that's the perfection. So it wasn't always quantity; it was timing. It's what do I need, what do I require at the time.
Yeah.
And I also looked at it like simply like talking about Ronnie Coleman. I'm not Ronnie Coleman's size.
Right. Right.
Why am I going to do more gear than him?
Yeah.
Why am I going to just
Yeah.
push the dosages? And it's pretty easy once you get some negative side effects that you got to deal with that are uncomfortable. You realize that's just not the answers. More is not always better with PEDs.
Right.
So
It's minimum effective dosage and harm reduction
yeah,
is what kind of pops into my mind when I think of this. If if I were in the bodybuilding, like as a competitive bodybuilder, which I'm not, so
right.
so I'll just cheat and do TRT plus and some growth and be done.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, just
Well, and
enough.
again, if it's a tool for a use, I'm not gonna. If I have a screw, I need a screwdriver. Not just because the hammer's not working doesn't mean I need a second hammer. It means
Yeah.
you're just doing the wrong thing, and it's very
Yeah.
frustration will correct these things for you. So, my uncle used to say, "You only learn three ways: time, money, and embarrassment. Just don't learn
Oh.
all three at the same time." So, it's embarrassing to get gyno because you think more is better.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's expensive to fix these things, and it's
Hmm.
in time, money, and embarrassment, and then you can also pay for it in some sort of sense. There's going to be a cost.
Yeah.
Using using 20 units of growth hormone and you don't need it's very expensive. So
Yes, that's gonna cost a lot of money for sure.
yeah,
So while we're on the topic, another thing that I've noticed now that I've been more active on social media is a lot, unfortunately, of younger athletes interested in the PEDs, and it seems like they're putting the cart before the horse. Like, they're like, oh yeah, I'm just going to like throw some do some trend and
yeah,
start lifting and I'll get jacked. And then we have scenarios like a young man I saw, I do not recall his name, 17 years old, and apparently he's in the hospital now trying to survive because his cholesterol was like, basically he had motor oil for blood is
uh,
basically what it.
yeah,
17 years old. Now he, of course, he looked huge because
sure,
and a couple of things that come into my head is like, where's the parents? Clearly, they had no clue what was happening.
yeah.
So anyway, I just want to, if you had some advice for the younger competitors who may be looking up at people like you that are competitive and doing it right, what would be your advice?
Yeah. No, that's a great one. Honestly, the way I approach this with everybody, whether they're a new 21-year-old client or they're, 55 and they're finally just exploring TRT or TRT plus, someone like yourself who's not 21 years old came to me and
Right.
said, Dave, how can I optimize things? My approach is pretty much going to be the same. It's going to be a hierarchy of things that we need to check off the checklist. So when it comes to the realm of physique building, being competitive, or just the everyday person that wants to look massively better, or they have a physique goal, there is this hierarchy you have to check off of check boxes. Do you have the ability to train in a way that's going to elicit this change that you want out of your body? So we'll find out very quickly if that's going to happen or not by, when I'm coaching you, I'm going to request videos. I'm going to see you in the gym. I'm going to find out some feedback from you, biofeedback, sensation, and finding out recovery aspects. So we can check that box off. And
Right.
then before we get to the bottom, we have to do the next thing. Diet. Can we follow a diet? Can we understand a diet? Can we communicate back and forth? And you say, Dave, this doesn't work for me because of digestive issues. This doesn't work for me. It's too much food. I can't handle this. We need to reevaluate certain things. So if we can't check those first two boxes, so you start going down the line of get your progress and check off this box. Once that's kind of optimized, now we can go down. Well, obviously, diet's going to be kind of done at the same time, but
Right.
we're going to check that box off correctly. And then
Hmm.
once you've optimized all of those and they're running at full speed, you're tapping out your potential with diet and training. There are supplemental things that are not performance enhancing that we can utilize or leverage.
Right.
Glucose management is something I'm huge on, making sure that
Okay.
people are not just allowing A1Cs to run, that we're not building up negative aspects of our medical
Yeah. Yeah. Insulin resistance is big. If
insulin resistance. Just like we said, maybe your lipids need to make sure that there's better attention we pay to. Some people just have a natural reaction to estrogen themselves. Some younger kids just tend to have already experienced gyno through adolescence or something.
right.
All these little things. So we're going to start checking off these boxes. And they're in the order of progress too. Like if you don't, you're going to miss out on 70% of your progress if you can't run an effective diet.
Right.
That's huge. And then
Right.
the training is going to be another big chunk, right? So before we worry about these pennies, let's make sure we're grabbing the dollars that are available to us.
Yeah, absolutely. I
And then
think
we'll go,
there's a misconception out there that somehow like PEDs are magic and you'll just like pin and bloop, you blow
um,
up like a balloon, and it's nothing like that at all.
if that was the case, we'd know very quickly that's how it worked.
Yeah.
It'd be obvious.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
once we check off all those boxes, right, and and your life has to be in a position to actually use these things. It can't be 1 foot in and 1 foot out. I would hate to see someone start a cycle and then 3 weeks later quit and just never see them again. And it's like, well, you didn't structure your life in a way to live this lifestyle. So,
Right.
and then performance enhancing drugs is probably, I'll honestly say, maybe 10 to barely 15% of your progress. It's
Yeah.
really not as huge as you think.
Yeah.
It just pushes you past to that next echelon. So
Yeah.
I really tell young kids that, like, look, let's just start and be wise. Let's be wiser than the next 21-year-old kid that
Hmm.
is doing this on your own. You have someone that can advise you. Let's check off these big boxes first and make sure that we're getting all the progress that's being
Yeah.
obviously that can be handed to us. But after that, you have to understand, like, all right, we're gonna start using some performance enhancing drugs. Can we manage our health too? Can we
Right.
be open and transparent to each other and just be wise about these things? So, and I try to make sure that I'm always teaching. I'm not just instructing as a coach. Like, I want you to understand what an A1C is. I want you to understand what a good lipid profiles look like or not. I want all these things. I want to make sure that mental health is clean and clear as well.
Yeah.
Everybody reacts differently with these hormone swings that happen with using performance enhancing drugs.
Sure.
So you have to be able to identify these side effects or these parallel effects that happen with these drugs as well. So it's really just being wise with your approach. So
Yeah.
my advice to a lot of these kids is if your first thing is to jump on the gear aspect, you're just prioritizing your progress wrong.
Right.
And you're not going to make the progress that you want to make.
Hmm.
And once they take my advice, I've seen it a million times. Once people take my advice of good training, good diet, they realize that, wow, this is actually where I need to put my focus. And a lot of my clients, we talk about diet and training every single week.
Yeah.
We might talk about our cycle or what they're using once a month, if that.
Like a mini check and make sure
Yeah.
everything's okay,
Yeah.
and just
If
Off
there's
we go.
anything I need to know about, I'll ask the questions I need to be sure of, and just move forward. And I keep it's so simple to check your blood pressure, check glucose. Some of these small things that can be checked and kept track of. We track of. Everybody checks blood pressure with me and glucose.
Yeah,
You know?
and you hit a point that I think we should stress, and it's this: if you're going to go down this path, you've done all the right things. You built a base of muscle. You have your nutrition dialed down. You're probably under 15% body fat already. You're in a good place. You have to understand the complexities that health management, you know, if you go down this route, you're going to be doing blood work regularly.
Yeah.
You're going to be looking at a variety of diagnostics in order to make sure that you're okay. And it's not just, blood pressure are the basic ones that you can see, blood glucose, those are easy. You can do those at home. But we're talking about a lot of blood work results that have meaning
Yep.
and that you have to be very careful to manage in order to, do that, keep that harm reduction
Yep.
and keep it in place. So, I think you did a great job in pointing that out. That is, again, it's like people focusing on the icing on the cake,
Yeah.
and nobody wants to bake the freaking cake.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to mix the eggs and the flour and put it all in the oven. Everybody just wants to go straight to the icing and the frosting. Just like, here we go.
And that goes back to, like I said, is your life inducive to a position for you to use these things?
Yeah.
So it's not just your injections.
Mhm.
It's checking on these health metrics, and it's also, can you communicate well enough to me to give me the feedback I need, not
Yeah.
be mindless of certain things. I've had guys a few times have high blood pressure and they just don't sense it. They don't feel it. There should be some sort of, you should notice some
It's a silent
changes.
killer for a reason. You gotta every day monitor it. 5 minutes, man, every
Yeah.
morning. Listen.
Being in tune with yourself is very
Yeah,
important as well. So,
absolutely.
and just
Yeah,
being wise, if learning in bodybuilding and changing your physique, if you're in a rush, you're never going to win. You really got to take the, what is it? The tortoise and the hare. You got to be the tortoise. You just got to be steady and continue to move along day by day.
yeah. I think a lot of people don't understand just how long it takes to build muscle because I think a lot of people see weight loss, which is way faster. I mean, way faster, 100 times faster. Losing 5 pounds, if you're aggressive, you can do that in probably 2 weeks if you're very aggressive. Gaining 5 pounds of muscle might take you a year
Yeah.
if you're lucky, if
Yeah.
you do everything right.
Yeah.
So, it's again, it's those expectations, I guess. And we do live in a world of social media, Instagram, and so forth, where people are seeing the results, right? And again, they're seeing, to go back to the cake analogy, they're seeing that beautiful cake with all the decorations and all that crap,
Yeah.
but they're not seeing the effort behind the scenes to actually put it all together and bake it and learn how to do it and failing and trying it again, which is that's really what I think that's what separates the greats in
Yeah.
the sport from the also rans, from
Yeah.
the people that are kind of just going through the motions and all that.
No,
So
you nailed it. Yeah, and patience is something you kind of learn.
yeah,
You just learn it. We've all done it. I'm sure you've done the same thing. Try to rush a process a little
yeah,
bit. You
of
try to
course.
have a little trickery somehow, and it never ends up as quality or the way that you think it's going to.
It's that human condition because ultimately we want the most efficient, and we are impatient. We can, it's our curse, I guess, as humans, that we can visualize these long time windows,
Yeah.
but at the same time we live in the now.
Yeah.
So this almost brings it back to your point of like the same with anything that's worth doing, be it training, sobriety, writing a book, whatever it is. You do what you need to do today and make sure you do that today. But you might not see the book being written until a year later, but you
Yeah.
got to write a page or two every day, you know?
Exactly. Yeah,
So
you nailed it. You nailed
yeah,
it.
it's a tough one. All right. So let me see. Any advice for anybody who wants to choose, like, or thinks that may have to choose a path between, say, recovery and being healthy versus, say, bodybuilding? Is there a way to marry the two? Do you have some advice, perhaps?
Well, I think well, that's a good question. I think it's pretty fair to say, Gonzo, you'd probably agree to a point that if you're not taking care of your sobriety and have a healthy living situation,
Yeah.
you're not going to be successful in just about anything else,
Right.
even if you're talented at it, right? Like, give you an example, myself, I was building businesses when I was 16 years old. I was thinking way far ahead than I should have. Instead of chasing girls, I was chasing a buck,
Right. Right.
and no matter how much talent I had at that, I just actually stop and think of how much potential did I take away, because I didn't have my ducks in line at home when it came to my own health, my own addiction problem. How much was that
Right.
truly holding me back? So is there a way to marry the two? I don't think you can be a successful addict in bodybuilding unless you've addressed taking on sobriety and set
Yeah.
yourself up for a position where that can be when we talk about this order of operations, we talk about this hierarchy of things we need to take care of. That actually, if that's part of your life, that needs to be number one.
Yeah.
If I set ahead anything else above my sobriety, eventually that's going to catch up to me and make me not successful. I'd imagine it would be the same for yourself. It'd be the same for the next person.
It is.
And it's not a matter of, it's just a matter of time till it catches up with you. You might be fine for a little bit, but there's going to be a time where you think you've got it all figured out. You can break the rules you've set for yourself, and you're just going to find out the hard way. So
Yeah, it's
that's
that
what happened to
slippery
me.
slope, man. Like, so one day, I remember before I made like you the decision, like, no more period, not even a little bit, because a little bit will lead to a big bit to all of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, you have to be like, just
Yeah. Well, I
that
had to
book
learn it 3
was,
times myself. That's part of my stories. I had to learn it 3 different scenarios from my 20s to my 30s till I finally feel like I've got it under wraps. And now October, I'll be 5 years straight sober.
wow, congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that, because 5 years is a big, it's funny. The further you go, I'm going to say it, to me, it feels easier because it's no longer a routine. It's no longer, but you still have to always put a little bit of effort into it.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, especially, social situations, stuff like that. It's a lot easier after,
Yeah.
at least I feel like the further you go, right?
Yeah.
But it's never, our sobriety is never free.
Yeah.
It always
Very
has
true.
a small price of willpower and doing whatever it is that keeps you sober.
Yeah.
Whatever those things are.
Yeah.
So,
One thing for me is, like, I still tell my wife when we're sitting down, like, hey, it might not happen very often, but it might be one day out of a month where I'll just be like, I thought a lot about drinking today. It came across my,
yeah.
it was a
Yeah.
rough
There's a
day.
trigger of some sort. Yeah.
I don't know why, or maybe I do know why, whatever the stress factor was. And just getting it out there is part of the work I needed to do for that one time of the month to get it out of the way for me. So, yeah. So, I mean, I don't think you can balance much of anything without having some sort of concrete foundation in your sobriety, to be honest. And actually, funny quick story about my sobriety. So I got clean on my birthday, October 30th,
Oh, wow.
day
Okay.
before Halloween, and I actually compete every year on October 30th. That's my favorite. For some reason, I did my first show. It happened to be on my birthday.
That's an awesome anniversary. Yeah. That's a great fucking ritual. I love that.
I know that one way or another, no matter how I perform, I'm getting at least a sobriety medal.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. No, that's freaking great.
Yeah.
So see, you've linked a positive can-do objective
True.
to your sobriety, which reinforces your sobriety. That's fucking brilliant, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, it
So-
happened to just be that way. I said, oh, there's a show on my birthday. Why don't I do that? And that's actually the day I turn sober. It'll be a fun day for me one way or another. So even if I lost last place in the show, hey, I accomplished something on that day. So
I'm going to steal that.
Hey,
I'm going to steal that idea. I don't know what happens in May. I'm May 11th, so I have no idea. Mother's Day.
Hey, maybe do your first show, man.
Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. So there's there's a lot of work for me to be able to do a show, my friend. Even though it might be a fun thing, like at 54, 55, to see what there's a master's class, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So
Yeah. I mean, hey, you got 11 months to get ready.
oh shit. That from what I've seen and from what I've learned from you guys, that's barely enough time.
Well, again, you got to be willing to start somewhere if you want to get to the top.
Absolutely,
But yeah, I like that
absolutely.
association of. I know that every year, until hopefully one day I'll get an opportunity to turn pro. But for right now, they do the New England Championships every year,
Nice.
just on that weekend. So
All right. Well, just so you know, I've been thinking after, again, meeting more people in the community of going to the Arnold just because it seems like a big event, lots of arguably almost as big as the Olympia
yeah,
nowadays. And it has bodybuilding and combat sports, which is another thing I love. So, oh man, yeah.
you should
So,
definitely go. The
yeah,
the get together of like the actual expo is much bigger than the Olympia from what I understand. Like so, people wise, and your opportunity to kind of meet. Whether it's different athletes or different bodybuilders, different
yeah.
companies that are involved, clothing lines, and you got the strongmen, and they do a great job. Anyone who's kind of interested in those sports, one thing I'd pick the Arnold over the Olympia for sure. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Much as I love Vegas, but you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's funny. By the way, I never went to Vegas when I was not sober. So to me, Vegas has always been more of a fun carnival food thing, really.
Sure.
And outside hiking and all that. I enjoy rock climbing every once in a while because of my middle child used to be a competitive rock climber, so
Oh
he
wow,
kind of like put the bug. So see,
that's
that's
cool.
another reason I gotta watch that weight to power ratio. So,
Yeah, yeah,
but in any case, but yeah, I'll be thinking of going to the Arnold. So if you're there, I'd love
yeah,
to meet you. That'd be great. That'd be awesome.
yeah. We got our tickets already. We got our rooms booked, and I know
Nice.
Paul and the crew will be there from his show, and yeah, you should consider it. It's a good time. We'll all
Yeah,
get
he
together.
mentioned he was the one who kind of put the bug in my ear. He's like, you should try this, especially as you learn more. I came into like, from the biohacking side. I want to learn because bodybuilders, I've always said it, the first biohackers are bodybuilders.
Yeah,
You guys are the ones you figured out the nutrition. I mean, look at this craziness with the sugar diet. That didn't come out of some biohacking, guru person. It came out from bodybuilders who figured it out. They were like, "Hey, this thing works. It's an alternative. It's something, a methodology that can work."
yeah.
So so much for nutrition, for muscle growth, for hormonal everything, peptides, all of that. I
Yeah.
mean, so
Well,
that's how
plus
I
you get
find
all
myself
these
here.
unorthodox tactics, that we all argue about. Like
Yeah,
one we could quickly bring up. People always say, fasted cardio versus unfasted cardio. Well,
yeah, yeah. And
when you look
and
at the
there's a
science,
debate right there.
yeah, I mean, you look at thermodynamics, there should be no difference. But we all know anecdotally, in
Hmm.
my opinion, you do fasted cardio, it just seems to elicit a better look in truly the fat burning potential you're looking
Yeah,
for, not just calorie expenditure
yeah,
at the end of the day. So, but yeah, that all came from bodybuilding, and that's really kind of actually. It's funny because that's how I learned a lot of my knowledge growing up, was reading a lot of the forums and then getting what I call a BS meter. I
yeah,
learned from
yeah.
reading the forums what's BS and what's true and what to look into and what not to bother.
Yeah, like what's good bro science versus bullshit bro science,
Yeah.
because there's definitely, like you said, different ideas and thoughts and things. It's funny, they come and go, right? Like, like same as like the current debate between Masteron and Primo. It's like
Yeah.
between the science kind of nerdy guys versus the bro science traditionalists.
Yeah.
And they both have really good points. That's a cool thing that they can go back and forth. And meanwhile, I'm here like eating my popcorn and learning from both
Yeah.
because there's always something you can learn
As you
from.
should.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you should. If you become tribalist in one sense or the other, you're not going to learn much.
Yeah, if you become too dogmatic, then that kind of limits it, right? If like, this is the only way I know and the only way I'm going to consider, then I'm kind of locked in. I'm not going to grow, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, it's kind
So,
of like my training. Like I listen to a lot of Dr. Mike, who gets really into the science and has a lot to back up a lot of what he kind of teaches with the
yeah,
training aspects. And I take a lot from that and I utilize a ton of it. Range of motion is a huge thing I teach the people.
yeah,
But also at the end of the day, as you can see, grip it and rip it. At
Yeah,
the end of the
you
day,
still
there's
got to
2
put in
ways
the
to do it.
effort, man.
Yeah, at the
you
end of
know?
the day, you can be very sciencey, put your foot here, this or that, or there's the second way, grip it and rip it, you know?
Yeah, which is just like you just got to do it. That's so
Exactly.
true. By the way, have you seen Mike's aesthetic revolution? Have you listened to any of that that he's talking about, which is like future stuff?
I've heard a little bit of some of these, peptides that they're gonna have, the 3-facet GLPs
Oh
with
yeah,
possibly
yeah.
some follistatin in follistatin or
Yeah,
myostatin
myostatin
inhibition.
inhibitors and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Well, he's got a podcast series that you can check out. I think it's under Renaissance Periodization under their podcast,
Okay.
and it's I think it's a book that he's about to release called The Aesthetic Revolution, and he kind of goes through so where we are in technology, what's coming, and the cool part is that he's thought, okay, so what would that imply? Like
Yeah.
what would be the real world effects of these technologies as they come online? It's really interesting. You should check it out for
Yeah,
sure.
certainly. Yeah,
For
certainly.
sure.
Yeah, I have a funny feeling we're on the edge of a couple really cool peptides. You're starting to see it with like the retatrutide and, what semaglutide did earlier on. And
Yeah.
I just hope that at the end of the day, I hope people get the proper education to know how to use them because all I'm seeing is people doing the first stages of drug implementation, which is
Yeah.
just more the better. They're not, put these two together, it does
Yeah.
this mythical thing. When the end of the day, it's like, do you really understand the difference between them all?
Yeah.
The different
Yeah.
facets, what they're used for. So
Oh,
I
and
just hope I hope people
how to
build the knowledge.
even how to improve the modalities, right? Like
Yeah,
so I now have the capacity to eat with reason and logic. So I should be weight training because I'm gonna lose muscle and I want to live. So things like that you have to like consider it. But these drugs and what's coming in the future is amazing. I'll give you an example. Like my mother's 80, will be 80 years old later this year.
oh wow,
She tried tirzepatide after struggling with weight loss, and it worked. It
yeah,
worked just like magic.
yeah,
80 years old almost.
yeah,
So imagine if you're a healthy individual and you just need a little bit of help.
yeah.
So,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
imagine too. So that let's fast forward 20 years now, and then you have something that holds on to muscle tissue, so we can
yeah,
avoid these long-term sarcopenia effects. And then you're also getting the fat loss. And then look at kind of what Paul's showing you with retatrutide, the effects of your fatty liver and the
right.
lipid profiles. You might be able to get the right combination and knowledge of how to use it,
Hmm.
and really get some people that can't go train. They can't do the hard way. They
Yeah,
can't do.
exercise mimetics,
Yeah,
like the ability to like have, quote unquote exercise in a bottle or create a stimulus similar to exercise, like you said, for somebody say that might be bedridden
yeah,
or be or have a mobility issue where they cannot move and lift
sure.
even though they wanted to. And now they have, an alternative to live a healthier, better life.
Yeah,
I mean, it's gonna be crazy.
yeah.
It's gonna be a crazy thing.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I saw one the other day. I don't know if I haven't really looked much into it, but I saw people are starting to come out with a combination of BPC, TB500, mechano growth factor, and
Oh,
KPV as like an ultimate healing
yeah,
kind of peptide. So I think that part of the idea is also to be able to mainly digestion and inflammation management, but
yeah, that
I'm
sounds
interested
about right.
I'm
Yeah,
interested to see if like what mechano growth factor, if used appropriately with some of these healing tactics are going to do too. So I didn't even think about all the combinations people are going to start coming up with, but they're going to start having some interesting products for sure.
for sure. So I've tried all four of those separately. Well, BPC and TV together.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and then I added KPV once for. By the way, I healed a minor tear in my rotator cuff.
Oh, nice.
BPC 157, TB 500, nothing more.
Very good.
Literally nothing more. So I mean, the stuff works,
Yeah.
and it's only gonna get better. It's
Yeah.
only gonna get better. Wait until AI starts helping us model those protein chain sequences and doing it at a speed that humans just simply can't.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna have some cool stuff very soon,
Yeah.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
All right, man. Well, it has been an amazing interview. By the way, if Dave, let me ask you before we go, what's next for you and blue collar bodybuilding? What's the future like?
Yeah. So, well, for me, just personally, right now I'm in prep. So I'm going to be doing the East Coast Cup in Connecticut in the beginning of October, and then the end of October, the New England Championships.
Nice.
So I got second in the New England Championships, this closer being Mr. Massachusetts last year. So I'm looking to
Let's
just,
get it.
yeah, I'm looking to, it's just kind of a personal thing. I'm already nationally qualified, but
Mhm.
I want to just do that show.
Yeah.
And then I'll figure out what I'm going to do personally after that. But for blue collar bodybuilding itself, we just want to keep growing it. Right now, Jackie and I are working on slowly starting to build a website that's kind of tailored to all the facets we want to do, which is, helping sign people up for coaching and kind of teach them what we do. And, because it's not just athletes. I work with,
Right.
I just started working with a professional hockey player for nutrition, college football players, the everyday soccer mom that just wants to drop 20 pounds, for their daughter's wedding, all the
Sure.
way to, bodybuilders of all different kind of levels. So I want to have a website where people can sign up for that, start to get also consultations where they can sign up in the website. But I want to build a forum base as well, like an old school forum base with our website.
Yeah.
And we also come from a background. Jackie and I worked for Gasp and Better Bodies for some years, so with the we kind of have a clothing background as well. So we're going to start doing more apparel and
Nice.
stuff like that, just to kind of build. I want to build like a community of like-minded people like ourselves. That was part
Yeah.
of my job at Gasp, is to manage a lot of their social media with them.
Hmm.
And I just love the community feel. I love the sharing of ideas. I love the old school forum base. I like people being able to act as a team. So my next goal is to build this really badass website where we can do all those things and people have like a little hub to come to and share thoughts with like-minded people and learn and share their own, experiences and also be able to take advantages of the services that we offer.
Yeah.
So
And learn from each other and help each other out, because that's the thing. I wish, and this is such a human thing, like in when there's so many communities, there's so many people that come at it from the wrong angle, kind of imposing their thought, rather than a community where there's the sharing of
yeah,
information, the building each other up,
yeah,
which is what you sound like you're gonna do. I'd love to be part of it. let
I
me
appreciate it.
tell you, man. When you build it, if you build it, they will come, and I'll be there. So
Awesome. Yeah. And then the last thing is I hopefully down the road, um, I had my first bodybuilding show with my wife. We stepped on a stage together for the first time side by side. And
wow.
I hope down the road where she's pro and hopefully one day I might turn pro, we do a pro show together. And if that's the chapter one and the last chapter of our little story, I'm going
That's
to be
pretty good,
pretty
though.
excited. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like what you said. Look, no matter what happens, you have that guiding light of wanting to achieve that. So the
Yeah.
cool thing is getting on that road is the whole point. It's
Yeah.
it's not the end point. The end point is cool, and it's again icing on the cake using the same analogy. But the important thing is that you all go down that road together. That's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Enjoy the
So
journey. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Well, David, it's been an absolute pleasure, an amazing interview. I wish you all the best. And
Yeah. Thank
to
you.
our audience, check out Dave's stuff. He's got some very cool videos from blue collar bodybuilding. I saw one recently where I'm not going to use the name, but a person that is on all of our feeds who's a great fan who did an amazing transformation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just saw that today, and it was astounding. So,
Appreciate it.
yeah,
Appreciate it.
absolutely. So, hit us up, click, like, subscribe. This channel, Blue Collar Bodybuilding's channel, I'll have all the info on the bottom. And well, everybody, thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks again.
All
Appreciate it.
right, absolutely, absolute pleasure.